The items you will need to replace a coolant hose include some common hand tools, a drain pan, a knife, replacement clamps, some steel wool or sandpaper, a funnel, a gallon of 50-50 blended antifreeze and water, and the correct replacement hose. We recommend inspecting all coolant hoses every 15,000 miles. Inspect the hoses by feel and visual inspection. First, squeeze the hose several times over its entire length. Signs of a hose prone to failure are spongy or weak spots, a swollen hose from oil contamination, burned areas on the exterior of the hose, or a hose that is hard and brittle. When replacing a coolant hose, always begin with a cool engine. Never work on any part of the cooling system when the engine is hot or has just finished running. With the engine cool, remove the radiator cap and place a drain pan below the radiator drain plug. Open the radiator drain plug, usually located on the tank section of the radiator at the bottom, and drain the coolant into a drain pan. If your vehicle is not equipped with a drain plug, removal of the lower hose may be required to drain the radiator. Once the coolant has been drained, loosen the clamps securing the coolant hose to the radiator and slide them towards the middle of the hose. To ease removal of hoses, we suggest splitting the hose with a knife. This will also protect the fittings from damage. Once the hose is removed, carefully clean the fittings with steel wool or sandpaper to remove any excess rust or corrosion. Compare the old hose to the new one to ensure proper replacement. Before installing the new hose, slip 2 new hose clamps onto the hose. We recommend replacing the clamps whenever a new hose is installed. Position the new hose into place, sliding the ends over the fittings. Once the new hose is in place, slide the new clamps over the fittings and lightly tighten. Check to make sure the new hose clears any obstructions such as the fan or fan belts, and finish tightening the hose clamps. Now is a good time to inspect and replace any other hoses while the engine coolant is drained. Once all the hoses have been replaced, close the drain plug and refill the radiator with a 50-50 blend of engine coolant and water. On many of today's vehicles, an air bleed plug may have to be opened to release any air that is trapped in the system. Refer to a service manual for further details regarding your specific vehicle. Once the system is bled and filled with coolant, reinstall the radiator cap. Fill the coolant reservoir to the proper level and start the engine. Check all connections for leaks. After running the vehicle for a while, shut it off and allow the engine to cool down. Recheck the coolant level and add coolant as necessary.
Let's quickly review replacing a coolant hose. First, remove the radiator cap with the engine cool. Place a drain pan under the radiator drain plug and drain the coolant. Loosen the clamps, remove the coolant hose, and clean the fittings. Compare the old and new hoses. Install the new hose with new clamps. Check for clearance and securely tighten the clamps. Close the radiator drain plug and refill the radiator. Reinstall the radiator cap and fill the reservoir to the proper level. Start the engine and check for leaks. Allow the engine to cool, recheck the cooling level, and top off as needed.